Today I'm going to be covering a subject, one that our congregation has been dealing with, and I do believe there's a couple of others, and it has to do with relocating, being uprooted and planted in another place. Now my title today is Red Sea Moment. How many of us have had Red Sea moments where you find yourself in an impossible position, and the only way out of it is through God, through an intervention from God? He teaches us in this, and what we're looking at now, as I'm making reference to our relocating, it's a matter of uncertainty, that we're not sure where we're going, or actually if it is going to happen. Now I'm using a reference here to begin, and it starts in Exodus 14 verse 11. This is when the children of Israel were at the shore of the Red Sea. Behind them there was no escape because the Egyptian army was there. And if you look at our situation, there were certain signs there. They had Moses, they had the pillar of fire, they knew the army. Those are particular signs to kind of tell you something good is going to happen. So breaking into verse 11 in Exodus 14, and they said to Moses, "Why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us?" And what Moses, in verse 13, but Moses told the people, "Don't be afraid. Stand still and watch the Lord rescue you today." In verse 14, the Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. Now what I do when I go into these things, I actually transport myself into that setting. I'm standing there with those people. I am hearing these words because I want to experience the emotional thing that is going on there. The children of Israel were distressed. They were suffering from anxiety because where do we go? We're cut off by the Egyptian army. We can't cross the sea because we all were drowned. So when you kind of put it in our situation, here we are. But there's certain signs, because we've attempted to make a relocation before and it went absolutely nowhere, did it? But in our particular case, there are some points to consider. Well, the first one was the letter to relocate. That means there is a day we cannot be there. Does that kind of create a little bit of uncertainty? Is it going to happen for us? Or are we going to find ourselves freezing out at some park? Could happen. But there are things that take place that kind of tell you that God is saying to us, stand still, be calm, and watch what I do. Because there are some things that have happened. We have an available budget, something we didn't have before. Only God did this, made that increase in our budget to where we can relocate. That's your first point. He's there, he's working with us. And then, how did we respond to that? Because we know the children of Israel just got all worked up. You brought us out here to die. Why'd you do this to us? But God, through Moses, he said, stand still. Be calm. Watch what the Lord will do. And in our case, what have we done? As a congregation, we called for a fast. Yes, it was voluntarily. That's a good step. That's an excellent step. There are prayers going up on this. These are things that God counts as righteousness. This is righteous in God's eyes. To pray, to fast. But there's something else. What do you think it is? It's a thing called faith. We have to have the faith to go with our prayers and our fasting. Because it's the faith that actually makes it happen. Because in the New Testament, Jesus Christ, everywhere you read in the healings and things that he did, he always said, according to your faith. By your faith. He's saying that to us now. Yes, you're doing the right things, but your faith has to be there. Your faith has to drive it. So what is this thing about faith? You know, it's something that I think about all the time. And I look at myself and say, well, Jeff, you can't move a tree. You can't tell that tree to uproot and replant. Christ said if you had faith of a mustard seed, all you have to do is say to this mountain, move, and it would move. Question is, where do I lack? And do you know where that took me? Because I remembered the verses about the children, where Christ said, let them come unto me, for you have to be like these to enter the kingdom of God. So what did that say to me? Because I remember as a child, when my parents would say, we're going to go here, or we're going to do this, or something of this nature, I never doubted it. I was excited. It's going to happen. I don't need to worry about this. But what happens to us in our adult life? Uncertainty, doubtfulness. That's what prevents our faith from accomplishing it what it should. You know, I look at Hebrews 11:1, and this all comes out of the New Living Translation. It says, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. Well, this applies to everything. Right now in our congregation, what are we hoping for? A place to worship. A relocation. And that's what God is saying here. For it is evidence of things we cannot see. We don't know how God's going to do this. We don't know how he's going to work this out. But it's the first part. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for. And that applies to this, you know, when Christ returns, the first resurrection, but it also applies to our present day conditions. What hurts us is uncertainty. We need to get past that. Like the children of Israel, their uncertainty. But they had those signs around them, the pillar of fire and things like this. Moses. And what happened when that time came? The Red Sea parted. Red Sea moment. And in Mark 5, verse 36, it says, don't be afraid. Just have faith. That's what I'm trying to say here. As we have this uncertainty, this expectation, we need a new place. The signs are there. We have the budget, and we have a letter or a notice of relocation. It's going to happen. And that's why he says, don't be afraid, just have faith. And that's what we all need. And then in Matthew 9:29, I love these words. This is the very thing I am talking about. Because of your faith, it will happen. And that's why I'm before you today in regards to this relocation. Yes, you fasted. Yes, you prayed. Now bring that faith into it. We will relocate. Because in the Bible, you can see those instances where God uproots and replants. But now I firmly believe it is going to happen. Just like when I was a child. It's a good lesson. And I'm glad that God has stirred this and allowed me to transport myself to the children of Israel before that Red Sea. Where's that faith? But in closing, it's like he says in Matthew 9:29. Because of your faith, it will happen.